So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another album review of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and if you guessed it right because of my shirt and the album, we are talking about the Foo Fighters, and they just released a brand new album called But Here We Are. And this album is important for various reasons. First of all, this is the first album after the passing of Taylor Hawkins, the Foo Fighters drummers, last year. And yeah, this is an album that really means a lot to the band. And Dave Grohl is not a stranger to this because when he was in Nirvana and then he lost Kurt Cobain, he took a year off and he wrote songs and it became this album, the first Foo Fighters album. And it was actually Dave Grohl himself playing every instrument, the bass, the guitar, the drumming, the singing, and he didn't want to name it Dave Grohl, so he came up with the name Foo Fighters, and there you have it. And I remember when that came out in the 1995, I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was great to see Dave Grohl doing music and not just vanishing away, and not only being a drummer. So that's when I became a fan. I've been a Foo Fighters fan since the 90s, and I followed them. And then my favorite album in the last years from Foo Fighters was this one, Wasting Light, which came out in 2011. And this was almost my album of the year for that year. And this is an album that I really enjoyed. It was produced by Butch Vig, and you could tell that there was a lot of feeling in the band. And after this album, there's been like a love-hate relationship with me with Foo Fighters because the albums haven't been that great. And the last album that they put out was this one, Medicine at Midnight, and I was very disappointed with this album. They tried to be like more disco, more dance music, but this album to me really didn't do it. So when they said that they were gonna put out a new album, at first I was hesitant. I'm like, I wonder what it's gonna sound like. But then I heard the first single that they put out, Rescued. And Rescue had that old school Foo Fighters vibe. It sounded like it could have been in this album a little bit more modern. But yeah, I like how they do the guitars on this one. And this one starts the album. And then they put out a second single called Under You. And Under You sounded also like it sounded a little bit like it could have been in the second Foo Fighters album with that Everlong and those type of songs. And Under You is all about grief, especially the losing of Taylor Hawkins, because there's a line on the song that it says like, I'll remember you writing song and smoking cigarettes. That's how I always see you. And who can't relate to like losing a friend, a family member, a loved one, and remembering them in the fun and happy times? And that's what they did with this song. Then they put out a third single that was different, and it's called Show Me How. And on that one, Violet, Dave Grohl's daughter, sings with him, and that's more of a dreamy, poppier type of song, but really good. But they saved the best for last in the singles. They released a fourth single, and this album has 10 songs. And the fourth single is called The Teacher, and that's a 10-minute opus. And this song finds Foo Fighters in some psychedelic rock territory, a little bit of progginess to it. There's a part in the song where it goes like slower, and he's like, who's at the door now? And I don't know why, I thought of like some Pink Floyd influences for that song. But then it gets like, there's like great guitars on it. It's a really great track, and I was afraid when I saw the runtime at 10 minutes because Foo Fighters usually write 4 to 5 minute songs. So 10 minutes for Foo Fighters is long, but you know what? That song works because that song, it doesn't seem forced. There's a part where the song seems that it's going to end, but then it goes into a dreamy guitar and it picks up and it gets better again. So I was very impressed with it. So the other songs on the album, there's 6 still songs. What did I think about them? Are they as good as the singles? Well, yes, there's some great tracks on this album. The album, for example, finishes on a song called Rest. And Rest starts like very slowly, guitars, and it's all about, it's obviously it's talking about someone who has passed away and now you can rest Now you don't have to suffer anymore, or you will move on, but you won't be in pain. And who can't relate to that? And the song starts slow. It's like a 5.5 minute, but then it gets like more fast at the end. And at the end, it has like a great hook and melody and guitar tone that would really sound so great in an arena. This is an arena rocker song. Like, I could see the band finishing with this song and everyone puts the lighters out and just enjoys it. Also, songs like Beyond Me, it starts slower, but it has a great guitar part at one point, like a guitar solo, and it sounds like those bands from the 80s that had that power ballad, and then they had that guitar solo that really hooked you in. That's what that song does. The Glass, for example, is a more acoustic track, and it's all about, he's looking through the glass at people that he has lost, and it's a very beautiful track. And I like it that they had like that more acoustic track on the album. But it does pick up a little bit, but it's the slowest song on the album. Then you have great tracks like Hearing Voices and But Here We Are. And Hearing Voices is a mid-paced rocker, but I like how he's like saying the lyrics that he hears voices, but none of them are you. And But Here We Are is one that starts like a mid-pace, but it gets like harder as it goes on. And that one really sounds like an epic song that also has that arena rock to it vibe. There's only one song on this album that I didn't love, and it's Nothing at All. And there's just parts of the song that I didn't like because the guitar sounds like very disco electronic, and it reminded me of this album. And I do not like this album. So that was the song that I liked the least, but at least it didn't sound like that the whole song. There's a part of the song that it gets more rocking and it sounds more like classic Foo Fighters, but that guitar disco part, I could live without it. But besides that, this is a great album for the band. What Foo Fighters did in this album is like they explored grief. They just lost their drummer. They're confused, and I think the title for this album, But Here We Are, is saying in a nutshell, like, yes, we are still here, we have some losses, but we are still strong, we are Foo Fighters. And I think that title alone, and having the cover of the album be like white, because it gives you, white is the color of peace, and it's a tribute to Taylor Hawkins, this album. The drumming is amazing, and obviously Dave Grohl took in the drumming for this, like as he did for the first album. And now they're gonna tour for it, and they have Josh Freese, who's gonna be great. But yeah, the album is a deep dive look at what grief looks like for different aspects of life. And I think what I most love about this album is the honesty, great lyrics, and there's a lot of heart into this song. And that's what was missing from Medicine at Midnight. This was a generic album, and to me, this album has redeemed the Foo Fighters. This is the best Foo Fighters album since Wasting Light, in my opinion. Is it better than the first albums? No, but damn, this is a very good album that I have really enjoyed. So if you are a fan of the Foo Fighters, I think you will enjoy But Here We Are. And I think you will relate to these topics because I think everyone has experienced grief of some sort in their lives. Not only grief of losing a loved one, there's also grief, like some songs can be interpreted as like losing a love and being heartbroken. So yeah, this is a very, very good album from the Foo Fighters. And I think what they did with this is they made grief into art. And that's a beautiful thing. So what did you think of But Here We Are by the Foo Fighters? What are your favorite tracks from this album? Comment, I would really want to know. And if you like the videos that I'm putting out, do not forget to subscribe. And do not forget to give me a like. I have more content on the way. So until next time, this is Hector. the Shield Dude on a Couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.